Hi, everyone. My name is Derek Malone, and I am here today as the University Librarian at the University of North Alabama, and I am presenting Zotero Advanced Plugins and more. I'm going to go over some plugins that are helpful, in our opinion, for using Zotero. Also, a lot of different preferences that you can set within your individual client that can help you manipulate how you present things and how you organize things and how you ultimately use the program. So I am going to show one plugin in particular, and just one, because I think that basically the idea is the same for every one of them that you use. I'm going to show one that I think is pretty helpful to me and that I use frequently, and I'll share why when I do that. So before I get into a plugin, though, I want to talk about some different preferences and different functionalities that are often asked about and discussed by us internally here at Call Your Library concerning Zotero. So the first thing I want to cover is exporting and importing into Zotero. We are often asked by prospective Zotero users if you can import from somewhere else, maybe somewhere that you have previously used. So if you'll notice on the screen right now, I actually am showing Zotero in the immediate background, but in front of that is EndNote. And I have an EndNote library there. And let's say I wanted to export from EndNote and then import into Zotero. This process is extremely simple and it can be done with a variety of different citation manager softwares. So if I go up here to the top and let's say I just export from EndNote, and I'm going to export that to the desktop, and I'm going to pick XML format because I know that Zotero can read XML. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to call it my EndNote library. That's fine. I've now exported it from EndNote. To use it in Zotero, I want to do the inverse. I'm going to import a file. That file is my EndNote library. And then I'm going to say, go ahead and copy those into a Zotero storage folder. Zotero knows to call it my EndNote library. 10 items were imported. 10 items were present in EndNote. Those 10 items are now present in Zotero. So pretty simple process. If you do have those citation settings somewhere else and you want to import them into Zotero, you can do that very quickly and set up your library there. Okay, so now I want to look at a few other things and functionalities that you have in Zotero. And the first one is we're often asked about, if Zotero doesn't pull a PDF, can I add one to that record? And the answer is very quickly, yes. Neither one of these articles have a PDF associated with them. However, I have a PDF, not those exactly, but I have a PDF setting on the side here. And I'll show you how easy it is to just add that to Zotero. So you just go and grab your PDF, and then you're going to hover over the record. You're going to drop that on top of it. And now you're going to have a citation there. Still got my citation, and then I got the PDF associated with it. Notice that it does name that based on your author and your title. Now, this isn't correct, so I'm going to take it out of there. But if I wanted it in there, I wanted that PDF to be associated, I could do that. Actually go back and I'll take it out later. Okay, so those are two things very quickly that we're often asked about at kind of an advanced level of using Zotero. I want to show how to tailor your preferences to you and customize to what you would want and need out of the program. If you go to Edit and Preferences, you will get a list right here of some different Zotero preference headings, all of which you can manipulate very strategically. I'm going to work back from these. I'll start with Advanced. I'm just showing the advanced screen right now. I'm actually not going to do anything there, but if you wanted to select your language, for example, that's a preference option. You could switch your language out there to whatever you desire. I do want to focus on the site tab, however. You notice that in the style manager, you have different citation styles preloaded for you. Zotero is pretty lean in what it adds to the initial download. However, there are a lot more options that you can add by clicking Get Additional Styles. If you click Get Additional Styles, you'll notice that now there are 10,215 styles that you can add to Zotero and use those in your writing and your formatting as you're working through your output and integrating your sources into what you're writing. So if you have one in mind that you want to add, it's very simple to go down through here and find it. Gives you a little preview of what it looks like right there as you hover. Choose that and add it. It goes into this. So it'll be right there as one of the style options in the preferences. Now keep in mind when you add styles to Word, for example, it's going to ask you what style, or excuse me, when you add citations to Word, it's going to ask you what style you want. This is where it's getting that from. So it can only, your Word can only talk to what's in your client. It's the same way as with citations. You're only searching your individual library or your individual client with the options you have there. So to add any of those 10,000 or to use any of those 10,000, you need to add them first. Now you can set in Zotero a default format. In this case, in my export, I have it set to thank every time that it pops up, and it will still pop up and ask me, but every time it pops up and asks me in Word, when I start a new document and I'm adding citations, it's going to ask me, do you want this in APA format first? Any other time, if I changed it, it would ask me if I wanted it in that citation format, depending on what the output or the export was set to. It's going to ask me that first. I'm not going to focus any on the search tab. That content's there. It's pretty straightforward. I do want to reiterate from the Zotero beginner training that if you are using this standalone client, especially if you're using it on a machine that's not yours, or you've cleared your machine, or just for the sake of if you're going in and you're going to do a lot of different searches, I highly, highly suggest to go in here and make sure that the syncing is set to your account. Otherwise, it's not going to be able to talk. And it's really going to frustrate you when you close it down and nothing's there. Or if you put a lot of content in, you're adding it, then you sign in and it disappears. You don't want that to happen. Always make sure that you're signed in. There are a few things under file handling that I think are extremely helpful. You can choose not to retrieve those PDFs. Also, when you add a web page into your citations, it's automatically going to take a screenshot of that web page at that second. You can turn that on and off here if you want to under general. That's totally up to you on how you want to handle that. But if you're doing maybe a chronology and you want to show the web page at different dates and the relevance of what was there, then it will take that web page snapshot for you. So you can turn that content on and off there. So that's kind of the basics of what is in the preferences menu. Again, I think these are very customizable and specific to the user. So keep in mind what you want, what you're wanting to get out of those. And then you can always go back and change as need be. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to look at one specific plugin and not really highlight beyond that, but I am going to show you one specific plugin that I use and I think is extremely helpful. And I'll show you how to get them and what they look like once they're in Zotero. So first thing, a lot of these Zotero plugins are developed and they're out there for either free or for a fairly user-friendly fee for development to use that you can add. But a lot of them are in GitHub. So if you go to, I'm on a Google search right now, and it is a site search of github.com. And then I have searched beyond that Zotero plugin. You could also do a site search of github.com and then search Zotero and whatever you wanted that functionality of the plugin to be. So that's up to you. But if you want a good repository to look through of things that have Zotero plugins, GitHub's pretty good for that. I have added in mine, and I'll just use this EndNote library here. I have added on top of my Zotero a plugin called Zotero. So this kind of will give you an idea of the functionality that you can add to Zotero to augment the experience a little bit. And this is what any plugin would look like. If I right click on this, everything above it, this is associated with the standalone Zotero client, right? But if I go down here to Zotero, then I have different functionalities that have been added. So one of them is it can copy the tags to the clipboard. I think this functionality is nice because it copies the tags, which are usually subjects, keywords that it's pulling from Discovery or wherever you're searching. It pulls those and it makes them tags. If I copy those to my clipboard, I can then turn right back around and I can go somewhere and search with those tags, or start a search and clear out tags as needed and try to make something very relevant. If I find a relevant article, I can further that by copying the tags and searching what I thought were the relevant keywords there. Same idea with pasting the tags. It does allow you to relate items to each other. If you select multiple items, it will relate them to each other, and then it will post up here under related that two items are related to each other. Maybe you have a similar author or an idea or whatever, and you want to relate them. It will let you relate that there. But I think possibly the most helpful reason for this to use this tag, and the number one reason that I got it at first and added it to my Zotero, is that it copies a unique URL from Zotero Web that you can share with somebody. Zotero is built to where in collaboration, you have to know their Zotero login or their Zotero email address. And then sometimes it's also frustrating that maybe if you're collaborating with somebody outside of the University of North Alabama and they don't have access to our discovery layer. Well, you searching or you sending a link that has our proxy login in front of it doesn't help them because they can't log in and access that article. But you just want to send them the citation information without sending the rest of that content. You can do that by sending a Zotero URL, goes to the web, no collaborations needed, unique identifier in Zotero there, and they can view basically this information on the side. Extremely helpful. It goes further than if you copy the bibliography to the clipboard, because you have extended not only the citation, what's included in that citation style, but you have included everything that was pulled and placed in the Zotero record. Finally, I want to show one additional thing. So just a recap real quick on Zotero or any other plugin. You find it somewhere. For the most part, I've found most of them that I find via GitHub. You don't necessarily find them from the Zotero website. They are developed to be add-ons onto Zotero itself. You add it into Zotero, and then it will appear as an extension of the other functionalities in the bottom of each record. A few years ago, Zotero developed their kind of quick and easy version that is web-based. It's called Zotero Bib. I'm going to take a couple citations here and see if I can make a very quick Zotero Bib from them. So this one, let's see if this DOI works. That'd be cool. So I'm going to put a DOI there, and it's going to search for that DOI, and it found that citation. Let me try one more. See if I get a DOI here too. I don't see it. Let me try the title. So it's scouring to find a citation. Try that one. You can add these manually, but I'm trying to create a bib from what it already knows. We'll give it a second. If I can't find that one, let me go ahead and get a third one somewhere. There we go. Got a DOI here too, so I'll just go ahead and do the DOI. There's that one. Okay, let me do a third one. All right, so 3 citations down here. Very cool thing about Zotero Bib. One is you can very quickly choose your citation style. It has a smaller amount that it gives you at first. In this case, it's only 4. In Zotero, the standalone client itself, it's like 10 or 11. But I've got my citations there in what I chose as my citation style. In this case, APA 7. I can change that right there. I can also choose where I want to export these to. So I can copy them to my clipboard and then dump them right into a Word doc. This is more for quick research purposes. Maybe you are doing a very short paper and you just need a couple citations and you know how to do the in-text citations. So you just want the bibliography done for you. This is a pretty easy way to do that. You could also, though, save them to Zotero itself. So maybe you want to see these citations as you go through and you're just pulling DOIs. Well, you could pull those DOIs, build a bibliography here, and then send those to Zotero itself. Something that I think is very much worth noting about this side of using Zotero is that this stays in your browser. So it's kind of like being signed in or not signed into Zotero and using it. It stays in your browser as long as that's not cleared. So as long as you're not clearing your cache or your history, that will stay right there. Once you do, though, it's gone. So you could essentially use this and then just save it to Zotero as a backup because you know you got it running back there. Highly functional, really more appropriate for short papers, short projects, but still has the functionality, much like the export I showed at the very beginning of this from EndNote to Zotero, very much has that functionality to just export directly into the program itself. That concludes the programming for today. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email us or call us here at Collier Library and Information Services. We hope that you enjoy using Zotero. We're very glad to talk to you at any point. If you need assistance with it, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you for attending and have a wonderful day.